You ever notice how some people don't end up alone? They choose it, they turn down invitations without over-explaining, they don't feel awkward eating alone, they don't panic when their phone stays quiet for hours, and when you ask them, "Don't you get lonely?" they pause, smile, and say something like, "Not really." Maybe that person is someone you know, or maybe, if you're being honest, you're watching this alone, perfectly content, and wondering why people act like that's strange. Because loving being alone isn't the same as being lonely, and the psychology behind it is way deeper than just introversion. So let's talk about the psychology of people who love being alone, the kind that makes you rethink what solitude actually means and what it's doing for the people who crave it. There's a first type that often gets mislabeled. This is the person whose energy returns in solitude. They go out, they socialize, they do the thing, but afterward they don't feel energized. They feel depleted, like their battery quietly drained while no one was looking. So they go home, close the door, sit in silence, and slowly something comes back online. Psychologically, this is about how the nervous system recharges. Some people gain energy from stimulation, others regain it through reduction. Less noise, less interaction, less demand. If this is you, being alone doesn't feel empty. It feels restorative, like plugging yourself back in. Then there's another type. This one's subtle, but powerful. This person loves being alone because it's the only place they don't have to perform. Out in the world, they're adjusting, monitoring, editing themselves just enough to fit the situation. They're polite, considerate, socially aware. At home, alone, none of that is required. Psychologically, this is about self-regulation and authenticity. When someone is highly aware of others, solitude becomes the only space where the self doesn't need to be filtered. If this resonates, you might notice how relaxed your body feels when no one's watching. No reactions to manage, no impressions to maintain. Just existence without commentary. Then there's a type people rarely understand correctly. This person loves being alone because their inner world is rich. They think, reflect, create, replay conversations, imagine futures, ask questions that don't need answers yet. Their mind is never empty. It's just inward facing. Psychologically, this is internal stimulation. Some people need external input to stay engaged. Others generate meaning internally. If this is you, long stretches of solitude don't bore you. They feed you. Socializing can feel like an interruption, not because you dislike people, but because your mind was already somewhere interesting. Then there's the type that often gets mistaken for antisocial. This person loves being alone because it feels emotionally safe. No misunderstandings, no subtle conflicts, no pressure to respond correctly, no risk of saying too much or too little. Psychologically, this is about emotional boundaries. For some people, connection comes with a cost. They feel deeply. They absorb moods. They carry conversations long after they end. So solitude isn't avoidance, it's containment. If this is you, you might notice that being alone helps you reset emotionally. It's not that you don't care, it's that you care a lot. Then there's the last type, and this one tends to surprise people. This person loves being alone because solitude is where clarity lives. When they're alone, their thoughts untangle. Decisions become clearer. Emotions become easier to name. The noise of others' expectations fades. Psychologically, this is about cognitive clarity. Some minds process best in quiet. Not silence for silence's sake, but space to think without interference. If this resonates, you might find that your best ideas come when you're alone, your calmest moments, your most honest self. Now here's the part that often gets missed. People who love being alone aren't necessarily disconnected. They're often deeply connected to themselves. And that connection doesn't disappear when they're with others. It just requires solitude to stay intact. Most people who love being alone aren't running away from the world. They're choosing the environment where they function best. So let me ask you, which type felt familiar? The recharger, the non-performer, the deep thinker, the emotional protector, the clarity seeker? Or maybe it's a blend. Because most people aren't just one thing. Loving being alone doesn't mean you don't value connection. It means you value it enough not to dilute it. And in a world that constantly equates presence with participation, choosing solitude can be a form of self-respect. If this made you see yourself, or someone close to you, a little differently, that's a good sign. And if you enjoy these quiet, thoughtful explorations of human behavior and inner life, you know where to find more. Just remember, wanting to be alone doesn't mean something's missing. Sometimes it means something finally feels whole.